We are calling on them to do the right thing, to be patriots here, and not to use the war as an excuse or as a reason to not put out a production, to not do the capacity that is needed out there, so that the prices can come down.
Hey soldiers, so Putin's gas price hike, that hasn't worked. Months and months of Putin's the villain. He's the reason why we have high gas prices. Biden's poll numbers are still plummeting. So now we got a new villain. Quite coincidental, especially when looks like Ukraine's not going to be victorious after all. All right. So it's the oil companies now. They're the new villain. They're greedy, okay? They're businesses. And on this channel, we don't make any apologies for capitalism because it's the best system going. If you got another one that's better, then let's hear about it. Please don't say socialism because it's failed everywhere it's been tried. Right now in Vietnam, you have, the Champs-Élysées. They have a, Cartier, Coach, all the high-end brands that the Politburo can afford, but nobody else can. All right, so same thing happened in Soviet Russia, same thing's going on now in North Korea. The Chinese are extremely intelligent, and they said, you know what, we're going to have socialism as a governmental system. We're going to practice capitalism. It's the only way to feed 1 billion people. So they're hip, but Joe, he's out there talking about, well, now it's no longer Putin's fault, it's the oil companies. Listen, the oil companies don't set the price of oil. They don't control that. They do respond based on, the price of a barrel of oil. It's the same thing where, let's say you were selling, I don't know, you're selling cars, and you went from selling Hyundais to selling Ferraris. Okay, I think you probably have a difference in the amount of profit you were making on the sale of those. Sure, one's the volume, but the other's just incredibly expensive. So when things become more expensive, the companies that produce those things, if they're still selling them, then, they're going to make more money in many, many cases. And that is what's happening here because they're passing the cost on to you. All right. They're not absorbing it, nor should they be. All right. We need the oil. We want the oil. We got to pay for the oil. That's just the facts of life. There's nothing out there that's free. They're not going to give it to us for free. So it is not the fault of the oil companies. It's the fault of the administration. The very people coming up with all of these blame game schemes are the reason why we are where we are. For example, Keystone Pipeline Project. Joe Biden shut that down. That was one of his first moves. All right. And yeah, sure, he's making a campaign promise to the environmentalist lobby. And so, fine, you shut it down. So you took the prospect for more oil going out onto the global market and you eliminated that. You gotta live with that, Joe. Then you said no more drilling on American land. You cut that drastically. So again, smaller amount of global supply, same amount of demand and growing, more than likely. Then after that, slap these sanctions on an oil-producing nation, Russia. And hasn't hurt Russia. They haven't missed a beat. They've just been selling the oil to India. Meanwhile, prices at the pump are increasing. So it's not the fault of Putin. It's not the fault of the oil companies. It is the fault of the policies that have been put in place by this current presidential administration. Some ignorant idiot said to me the other day, the president doesn't have any influence on gas prices. The school system has failed us, America. It really, really has. Look, I just wanted to put that out there because you need to be aware of what is going on in this economy. Do not believe anything that's coming out of the mouths of these policymakers in Washington, D.C. They're all liars. I don't care. There might be one good apple in the bunch, and that's Rand Paul, and that's it. Okay? The rest of these guys, man, leave a lot to be desired. And so, with regard to that gasoline situation, again, you need to call your representatives in D.C., and you need to tell them that they need to press for a moratorium on the federal gas tax. And then you also need to inform your state representatives that they need to press for a moratorium on your state's gas tax. These things need to be suspended for a year at least. Give the American economy some relief, especially as interest rates rise and inflation still rages. These are things they can do right now, today. Anything else is just a load of BS. So go ahead and make that. Look, we're soldiers of finance here. We take action. Go ahead and take that action. Okay, don't let them off the hook. And look, I used to work in Washington, D.C. When you call these offices, keep in mind that you're not speaking to the politician. You're speaking with a low-level employee who's not making a lot of money, usually some kid fresh out of college who's just trying to, build a career. Be nice to them. It's not their fault. They're not making policy. They're just taking the information, okay? But tell them what you feel, if you agree with me in terms of these gas taxes. And guess what? They're going to empathize with you because they're not being driven around town by chauffeurs, okay? They're making minimum wage somewhere in there, okay? And they're filling up their own tank. So just do that. That's a solution. I'll talk to you soon.